Hello everyone and welcome to another News Coolum video and another plug side chat. Now, in this chat, I wanted to speak kind of directly to Porsche. Now, I realize that this is a little late. These topics were being talked about, in April, I believe, of this year, or something like that. But we're seeing more about the Porsche Taycan, and we're hearing more about what its capabilities are. But I wanted to speak specifically about Porsche's plans to build out a high-speed charging infrastructure to support Porsche drivers by the end of 2019. It's kind of interesting that they're doing this in light of how many other public DC fast charging sites are being built out concurrently. Now, I think it's great that they're doing this and that it's going to supplement the public charging network tremendously. But given the environment that we're in, I feel like a lot of thought's going to need to go into it. And they've already been very upfront saying, look, this isn't going to necessarily be cheap to use, right? They're not mirroring Tesla's model where Porsche owners are paying a premium and then they're getting free access to charging. So they're basically paying Porsche prices and they're going to be supported by the company, right? And one of the first things that Porsche announced that they were going to do is install chargers at all 189 of their US dealership locations. And that's great. I think they're going to need that for service center reasons, just high turnaround in terms of test drives, just customer service in general. But that being said, most dealerships, and this is true of pretty much all dealerships, is they're not necessarily ideal for long distance travel, and that's not really what I think those 189 chargers are really meant for. They're if nothing else, they can be used as an educational tool. They can be used, like I said, to just bolster the customer experience. So I think that's smart. But on top of that, Porsche is talking about adding another 300 charging sites around the country. And I say sites because the more I read it, the more it seems that's what they're referring to. I hear a lot of articles referencing it as 300 chargers, and the assumption by people who are short on pretty much any traditional automakers' EV efforts. Anyway, they believe that, oh, that's 300 chargers, not 300 sites. And that's not the impression that I get. Now, it is a really interesting question, though, about how many chargers Porsche should be installing per site. I would say a minimum of two, and ideally, it would be two chargers per site with four heads. Whether they can support power splitting between heads, I'm not sure, but hopefully they can. At the very least, they should allow queuing. Essentially, if two Porsche drivers pull in, plug into the same charger, the first one will charge at the highest rate possible. And when that rate either steps down or the charge ends, the other charger will activate automatically. So it's a very seamless, transparent process for the users. And essentially, you could both pull into the same charger, and 40 minutes later, both pull out charged up that 80% in 20 minutes each, right? So they could do that with their chargers, hopefully at a minimum, but I still think they need at least two stations per site. Preferably it would be four, but I'll get into that in a minute. I actually don't think they really need to support CHAdeMO. I mean, sorry, Nissan and current Kia Soul owners. I don't think that that's really necessary. They're supporting their owners specifically, so they shouldn't have to change standards. But that being said, I don't think that they should be exclusive either. And I really don't think that they need to do a whole lot to ensure that these stations stay open primarily for Porsche owners. And the reason I think that they can do that is I think they can do it through pricing. Now, initially, it sounds like the Taycan or Taycan is going to be charging at a little over 200 kilowatts, right? So that's a very fast rate. And using these faster chargers, I believe if they priced accordingly, they would prevent most other people, especially people who own more price sensitive electric vehicles. Just off the top of my head, I feel like a good number would be about 50 cents per minute for usage. Now, you could even subsidize that for Porsche owners, but I think 50 cents a minute flat rate for the actual amount of power that you're taking, a Porsche Taycan could, Porsche Taycan, for the amount of power that you're actually getting, that's still a decent cost, right? It's not that expensive. But say if you're in a Bolt EV, well, you're charging at 50, 55 kilowatts, at most you'd want to do up to the 51 to 55% cutoff or step down, because after that it starts to get prohibitively expensive. Even before that it's expensive, but it's better than waiting at a slower charger a lot of times. And if there are no other chargers in the vicinity, or if it's at a location where you wanted to stop, you're paying a little bit more for the convenience as well. Now, in addition to that, Porsche has mentioned that they're working with other public charging providers like ChargePoint and EVgo. I don't know if they're working with Recargo or Greenlots, or even Electrify America for that matter. I don't think they should really be working with Electrify America, in my opinion, not because I don't think that there should be cooperation, but I feel this is an area where having two separate entities focusing on this adds value to the customers and the end users. So don't dip into what Electrify America is doing. Your customers are already going to benefit from it, but you should be looking to supplement that. And I don't know if Tesla is even interested in working with Porsche on this. I think Porsche would be fine with coordinating with them, but I doubt that Tesla would be interested because there's just really no benefit to them. Some of their sites where, what are they going to open up 2 to 4 parking spaces so that Porsche can put in 4 350 kilowatt chargers that none of their Tesla owners can use? I don't see how they would even be interested. ChargePoint and EVgo, on the other hand, I think there's huge opportunities there. And I think the biggest opportunity is expanding on existing sites. So Porsche had mentioned, like I said, about 300 locations that they're interested in building out. And there are some huge gaps that haven't been addressed yet in the public charging infrastructure. But the thing is, if you look at Electrify America's plans by June of 2019, most of those gaps are going to be filled. Areas where it seems like Electrify America is avoiding are places that, say, ChargePoint or EVgo have already built, right? So Electrify America themselves are also addressing gaps in the network. And what that means is Electrify America might be overlooking locations where ChargePoint and EVgo have already installed chargers. And Porsche, I think that's a huge opportunity for you, because one of the biggest issues right now with the public charging infrastructure is concentration of chargers per site. And so what that means is there are a lot of locations that ChargePoint and EVgo have only 1 or 2 chargers per location. And these are ideal stopping points. And this is one of those things where you can have that sort of synergistic, mutually beneficial relationship going on. I'm thinking of places both that are currently 20 to 24 kilowatt chargers. So along Interstate 5 north of Sacramento, you have like Yak's restaurant in Dunsmuir. You have the Carl's Jr. in Williams. These are ideal stopping points right off the freeway, but it's just one 24 kilowatt CCS head. These businesses have already shown an interest in putting in chargers, so we already know they're friendly to electric vehicles. I feel like they should reap some of these benefits. They've put in money for this equipment. I'm not saying tear out those 24 kilowatt chargers, because I think in addition they still have use. But imagine now you pull up to that site at Yak's restaurant, and instead of one 24 kilowatt CCS charger, you have that charger, and in addition you have 2 Porsche chargers that can charge up to 350 kilowatts. It gives you a great amount of flexibility in your trips. And there are a number of these locations throughout. Along Highway 101, you have Kiefer's Inn in King City. You have Cool Hand Luke's in Paso Robles. Those are locations that having, supplementation of much faster DC chargers, that's really going to improve the customer experience. Now, there's a sort of a caveat there because those areas might not have three-phase power available, which is unfortunate. But if you're going to be installing, it might still be an easier location, right? And like I said, a lot of these locations are ideal. But on top of that, there are also very similar 50 kilowatt locations, and some, 100 amp and some 125 amp that would benefit. Like some of the Drive the Arc chargers that EVgo had put in where they're only 100 amp. Well, most of those sites have two chargers per location, but if you were to add two more 350 kilowatt chargers, that would really improve those sites in terms of usage. One of the ones that I think is an amazing site that EVgo has is Salida, just north of Modesto, where it's a single 50 kilowatt charger, but there are four empty spaces right next to it. If you had two or three more 350 kilowatt chargers there, right off the freeway, it's a gateway to Yosemite. It's a really important stop off of Highway 99. Something like that would be very valuable as well. And I'm speaking primarily of California right now. There are other locations outside of California that also fit this model. And again, ChargePoint has multiple 50 kilowatt chargers along Interstate 15. Porsche owners heading out of Las Vegas that want to go to the Grand Tetons, that want to go to Jackson Hole, they're driving past those Mavericks gas stations that have single 50 kilowatt ChargePoint chargers at their location. Imagine adding a couple of 350 kilowatt Porsche chargers right next to them. Ideal stops, already planned out, already good locations. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. North on Highway 101, back in California again, Ben Bao Historic Inn on Highway 101, gateway to the Redwoods. Again, just a single 50 kilowatt charge point. Add two more Porsche chargers there. It would be an amazing stop for Porsche owners heading north up a scenic 101 route to visit the Redwoods, go to Fort Bragg, wherever it happens to be. I would encourage Porsche to think about those locations in addition to brand new sites, because I think it might be a very cost-effective way of them expanding their brand and their network while supplementing the public charging infrastructure that is going to be built out and is already in place. Because the truth of the matter is, we're all in this together. And one of the things I think Porsche is concerned about is also security. Well, the more active a site is, the more electric vehicle drivers there are present, the less likely there is to be vandalism or theft or security issues. Really, we don't need to change. Like, nobody bats an eye when a Toyota Yaris is filling up at a gas station next to a Porsche Panamera. Electric vehicles shouldn't change that dynamic in any way. If it's a convenient stop along a freeway, we should all be stopping together. Also, I wanted to offer this up to Porsche that, I've done a lot of research about potential location gaps in the network. If someone from Porsche wants to reach out to me just for my thoughts or, just as an additional set of eyes or an experienced electric vehicle driver giving my thoughts and opinions, I'm more than happy to share information that I've gathered and research that I've done. And for my viewers, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And I'd love to hear what you think about Porsche's plans, your suggestions for them. Again, like I said, I feel like we're all in this together. And thank you for watching.